Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, and I'm using new podcast software, so God only knows what this is going to look like at the end. It's kind of cool, though, and I'll tell you more about it later. We had a really fun week here at Shea Snark, and I'm going to talk about it. This was a week of excitement and sludge and sewage. Yes, we had a full toilet explosion on Sunday. So what happened is Julia and I left at the same time on Sunday morning. I went for my walk. She went to yoga. We left the almost 10-year-old William here literally 24 minutes, right? Well, in that 24 minutes, and we're not blaming anyone, but suffice it to say, the toilet overflowed. And when I say overflow, I mean like there was this much sewer water on the floor and my shoes got wet and my sock, when your socks get wet, you know that you've got a real problem. So the total is we sucked up 5 gallons of poop water. We used 12 full-size bath towels, which have now been sanitized, dried, and put away. Julia had to buy a mop. We mopped the whole house to make sure that it was gone. She sanitized the whole bathroom. It was quite the thing. And I was reflecting on it because when something like that happens, you get so discombobulated so quickly, right? I walk in, I'm hot, I'm sweaty. All I can think about is, oh, I can't wait to get in the shower. This will be so great. And then I turn the corner and it's that moment where you go, your brain doesn't quite register what's going on. And then your brain registers what's going on. And there's this moment of, oh, what do I do now? And I became completely discombobulated. The good news was it wasn't still running when I got to it, so it was a static situation that was nonetheless seeping its way through the whole house. It didn't get as far as the living room. It got the hall, it got Julia and Sam's bedroom, and the bathroom was just, ugh. Anyway, that was our adventure. How was your weekend? However, what is up with my hair today? It is just doing this weird, ugh. You use hairspray and it kind of has some kind of authoritarian hold on your hair. I don't know. So in spite of all poop situation, I did get a lot of knitting done this week. So I want to show you my 2 socks that I finished because that was my goal. So this is the sock from yarn that was bought in Amsterdam, that was hand dyed by people in Amsterdam. And I think it's really pretty. We'll start the second one. I haven't cast that on yet. And then this one, which I've told you I'm keeping for myself. Look at this baby. Look at this. Oops. She's going to be she, he. Do socks have genders? They are going to be so cozy and slouchy. And this is that cashmere yarn that I love. Remember I told you last week, I thought I was going to run out of yarn. And so I ordered a second ball. And anyway, it's slightly darker, but I think when I get to that point on the second sock, I'm right here on the second sock, that it'll be down here at the foot where I need it. And I'll just gradually work it in and it probably won't even show. And besides, they're my socks and I don't care. But of course, when you order Dreaming Colors Smooshy Cashmere yarn, you got to get more. So I ordered this. Now this is very subtle. Can you see it's got kind of purple, kind of yellow, a little blue in here. So soft. So this will be a fun knit. And then this one is a little wilder. Look at this. Isn't that fun? The problem with yarn like this, and I say that as if it's really a problem, and it's not a problem because, I wish you could feel it is just so soft. But when you're dealing with variegated yarn like this, and this is a great example, you can see how it's very hard to see stitch patterns. Many sock knitters will tell you, don't do any fancy pattern with a variegated yarn because it won't show. And as you can see, you really can't see the pattern on this. But I figured it out that I know aesthetically it doesn't really make that much difference, but knitting wise, it keeps my interest to have a pattern. So that's what I do. When I get to this kind of thing, you have to find the right stitch pattern to go with the yarn. So we shall see. This will be fun. Anyway, that's the knitting stitch. I've got second sock syndrome now where I have to knit the other pair. I'm not going to let myself even think about starting another pair until I finish both socks. Let's talk books because wow, just wow. So I finished the Book of Lost Hours and I have to say, wow. Exquisitely plotted. I had no idea where this was going. I had no idea how she was going to resolve it. So good. So if you like historical fiction, if you like time travel things, if you like kind of spy things, there's a little bit of that in there. Anyway, I love this book. I found it just so interesting to listen to, and I am recommending it to all my people. This is not chick lit. This is not frou-frou stuff. This is a really fun, good book that'll make your brain work. And I like to make my brain work. So there's that. Currently, I am halfway through Mrs. Endicott's Splendid Adventure. And the only reason I'm only halfway through is because I'm saving it. Everything about this book is everything I want in a book. It's just magical. I mean, who among us has not fantasized about getting into a car with our 3 girlfriends, traveling to the south of France, and finding an abandoned villa? Who hasn't wanted that? Read this book. It will make you happy. At least it's making me happy. So after I finished the Book of Lost Hours, and I tried a couple of other books. I really did. There's one about a woman who, it's sort of a British baking kind of novel. I'll tell you the name of it when I post it up here. And yeah, I made it about 20 minutes into the audiobook and I realized it wasn't getting me. It's not that it's a bad book. It's that it wasn't the right time for this book. You know how that goes, right? We all understand that setting a book down because it isn't the right time is perfectly acceptable. No shame in reading, right? If you read 1 book a year, if you read 300 books a year, there's no shame in reading. If you read on a Kindle instead of a hardcover, or you read on a paperback instead of an audiobook, it doesn't matter. It's still reading. Mrs. Endicott's Splendid Adventure, I highly recommend it. It is like a vacation from life. And who doesn't need a vacation from life right now? Ellen Hilderbrand. We've all read at least one Ellen Hilderbrand book, right? And she is very popular and very well liked. And a couple of winters ago, I read her. She has a trilogy or 4 or 5 books. I don't remember, but it's about one single hotel in Nantucket, but it takes place in winters, over several winters. And I really enjoyed those. As we know, she wrote a book called Swan Song. I think that was last year or 2 years ago. I have not read that, but that was supposedly the last of the Nantucket novels. She's changing her direction. And so I picked up her new book, which she's written with her daughter. It's called The Academy. And it's about a high school boarding school. And I'm about 2 hours into it at this point. And I've been thinking about how to talk about Ellen Hilderbrand's style because it's very different than many readers. Like, for example, when you read an Abby Jimenez book or a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, you're like in the story. You are in with the characters. You are hearing their thoughts. You are just in it, right? Ellen Hilderbrand, her narrator, who is never identified, but the narrator is like telling us a story. It's like reporting the news as to what's happening. And it's a style that works, but it keeps you just a little bit apart from the people you're reading about. So The Academy is about this school, and with all Ellen Hilderbrand's books, there are 1,000,001 characters that are introduced. Don't freak out because, as we know, the important ones rise to the top, and those are the ones you'll learn who to pay attention to. So far, it's pretty good. But I lay in bed last night listening to it, and I was trying to formulate how I would describe her style. And it's like the narrator is like a newspaper reporter sort of telling you what's going on. And yeah, you do get fragments of people's thoughts, but it's not as intimate. That's a good word. Let's use that word. It's not as intimate as other books. And because I need a third book, because I'm a mood reader and I need to switch back and forth. Now, I love me some Sarah Confino. She writes just these lovely books, but I'm frustrated with this one. And then I remember today I was listening to it on my walk, and now that this is like my fourth or fifth of her book, so I understand kind of what's happening. She sets the book up. Every book, she sets the book up. There's just one catastrophe after another. And when I say catastrophe, it's kind of like the toilet flooding level catastrophe, not people being murdered level of catastrophe, right? Mom catastrophes, right? Kid gets expelled, all kinds of things. So this is her pattern. She starts the book with this chaos, and then eventually the story moves you through to the other side as she makes herself known. So the limelight supposedly has to do with Broadway, but we're not there yet. We are in New York City, but we haven't made it to Broadway yet. So I'm hanging in there. There's a brand new Sarah Goodman Confino book called Good Grief. I will be reading that. Probably not right away, but I will be reading that. She's a must read for me. I am one who will pre-order her books because I enjoy her so very, very much. I'm trying to think of some of the other books she's written. She wrote one about a woman who works for a political campaign. That was wonderful. She's All That, I think I'll post it. I'm not going to pretend that I remember these things. Good grief. I can barely remember what day it is. How on earth am I supposed to remember the names of books? Yeah, I could have done homework, but am I that organized? No, of course not. So that's where I am with the reading. So I'm hanging in there with Limelight. I'm enjoying the Academy, but it's a very different kind of experience. And even though it's about a high school, it is not a YA book, just so we're clear. It's an adult book because you're really focused on the headmistress. And then, of course, Mrs. Endicott's Splendid Adventure, which I don't want to end ever. William was here this weekend, and as always, he was adorable. William will be 10 in early December, halfway through December. So he's almost 10. And he's very mature and he's very clever. And we had some major breakthroughs this week. I mean, he changed his own sheets. He was able to do the fitted sheet all by himself, which I think is kind of a big milestone. And he made his own bean burrito. So, meaning Sam makes beans every week. So we have beans in the fridge, but he heated them up. And he rolled it up, that kind of thing. So those were big, cool things. And on the weekends so Sam is off singing for High Holy Days. It's Rosh Hashanah. And by the way, Shana Tova to all who celebrate. Happy New Year. So Sam was gone a lot this weekend, either in prep for Rosh Hashanah or actually doing services. And he also has a Catholic gig in the morning on Sundays. So he's very ecumenical, as we say. So William had some downtime. Julia had studying to do. And so William and I were in our lazy mode. William loves video games. Sam's a big video game player, and we're very careful. He's not really on Roblox right now, but he's into the Minecraft, deep into the Minecraft. And you probably don't know this because we are old men and women who don't watch this kind of thing on YouTube. But there is a young man on YouTube. His name is Preston. He has 5 different channels. He's got like 10 million followers. So he plays Minecraft. On the TV. So I'm fascinated by this man because his personality, I will share a clip so you get the vibe that he's putting off. It is manic, ecstatic, 11-year-old boy.
I can do it! I can do it!
Just stop him!
Yeah, dude, we have water grenades. They literally stop your fall. There's nothing you can do. I wonder what would happen if I were to do something along these lines. Give me this grenade!
That's the energy, and he sustains it for hours and hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He has game shows that he's invented. The man is insane. Well, he's this young conservative man raised in Texas, lives in Texas, he's a big Jesus follower. He's very open about that. And I had to laugh because William was watching this game show thing that Preston had invented. And I wasn't really tracking what was going on, but I did hear him say, I'm going to eliminate number 6 because 6 is the number of Satan. And I don't want that. And I looked at William and I said, 6 is fine. Don't worry about 6. Anyway, this guy is amazing. I did some deep dives on him. So he's got his own company. He employs like 45 people, including his parents. He's worth probably $35 million if he's worth a dime. And he generates just a crap ton of cash. So if this podcast doesn't take off the way I hope, I'm totally taking up Minecraft videos. Will you watch me? I can't promise the manic 10-year-old energy. Can you imagine? Oh, crap. I hit this monster again. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I just drop the controller and walk off. I finally had to say to William, honey, can you watch this on my iPad with AirPods? Because I can't do this guy anymore. It was like I could feel my blood pressure going up. And he's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's just like, do you want to be in a room full of manic 10-year-olds for hours and hours and hours on end? No, you do not. No, you don't. So because of this book I'm reading, this is Endicott's Splendid Adventure, I've been thinking, she talks a lot about how small her life was before she went on this adventure. And I was thinking about this concept of a big life and a small life and what that means to people. And I realized that in my life, my parents, they were both educated. And although they were Republicans at the time, they were very much into the liberal arts education. We were introduced to music. We were introduced to art. We were introduced to history. We were taken to Europe to live as children. Education was a big thing, right? So, and with education, a life can expand in a natural way, right? It made me very interested. I am a lifelong learner. I will always be learning something else. It's just who I am. And I think that learning, the reading, the curiosity, remember we're going back to the curiosity thing, it expands a life. Things that can inhibit a life expansion are fear, trauma, depression, mental illness, and also a lack of curiosity. But the fact that so many people are saying that universities are the cause of all the problems, that education is bad, that reading certain books are bad, and they are really trying to narrow our lives. So push back against that. Expand your life. Do something, and even doing doesn't necessarily mean leaving your chair, but go down a rabbit hole. Investigate something you didn't know. Watch a documentary. Do something that expands your view a little bit. We need to be more understanding of why people are where they are, and then invite them to expand gently. You can move forward in your life. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid of woke ideology. You don't have to be worried about people who don't look like you. You don't have to be worried about people who don't talk like you. It's the world. We are a world community, and we can try to compartmentalize ourselves, and it won't work because it's just not the way life is. So let's expand our lives. Let's expand our reach, our interests, our curiosity, and see how it changes us. See how it expands our life and brings more joy in. Yes, things can be scary, and it may bring in some pain or discomfort or whatever. But as I talked about prior to going to Europe this summer, sometimes embracing the discomfort in order to experience change is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. My granddaughter has to change schools. She just started middle school. There's a problem with her current school, and so she's going to be moving to her local junior high, middle school. I don't know what they call them now. She's got a lot of trepidation about that. We talked about it last night. I said, hey, You don't know. This could be the greatest thing that ever happens to you. You're going to be going to school with your best friend, which is what you want. You're going to meet new friends. It'll be great. You got to teach kids when they're young, embrace the change, embrace the unknown, take leaps of faith. And now I'm babbling. So, with this babble mouth done, I want to wish each of you a happy week. May this first week of autumn bring you joy. Notice the change in the light, not just the angle, but the color. I was looking out in the backyard last night just after sundown, and it was just the golden light color. And if you live where there are seasons, you've got trees changing. We won't have that until January here in Southern California, but it's still autumn. So enjoy that. Enjoy the beauty of this season. Snuggle in together. It's getting cooler, ideally, and we'll just all kind of snoodle in together this winter. And I hope you have health and peace and joy. And if you're in the middle of a kerfuffle or something stressful, I hope you can find your way out of that for some moments of peace. Anyway, that's my wish for all of you. Be well. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.